2, 1. Welcome back to Align with Jen. I'm here today with my very special friend, my frupple, Lupe Flores, Lupita.
Hello.
So I invited Lupe today for many reasons. I feel like we always get off topic, but somehow bring it back full circle. So it should be fun. We don't have an agenda or anything, so we're just gonna wing it like last time.
Winging it, like everything I do in life,
which is great. So Lupe, tell us about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lupe Flores. My pronouns are she, her, ella. I work full time as a college recruiter. So I work in college admissions, and I'm also a graduate student in the school counseling program at Northern Illinois University. Quick plug there.
So tell us more about work. How is that going?
Work is intense, very intense. So currently what I do is essentially I am like a support for any student that's interested in college in my specific university, which is NIU. And so pretty much just kind of being their support throughout the application process, explaining about what NIU has to offer, their opportunities, their options. But in my office, I really appreciate that we do a lot of outreach as well. So it's not just about NIU, but it's also about college. So informing students about their opportunities. I'm super passionate about connecting students to higher education, to connecting them to believing in themselves and really helping them explore what they're capable of.
That's really nice. I know you've told me that many times before, but I think it's good for others to listen and hear about that because it's a great resource in general. Well, you help with that.
Thank you.
Of course. And how is that related, or what led you to that, or choosing to work there in general?
Great question. So when I was in college, I'm first gen, so first in my family to go to school. Super proud of that. I know that college brings on many different challenges, especially as a first generation student. And I'm sure you know as well, because we've had some of these conversations before. But when I was in college, I ended up switching my major from nursing to psychology. And when I graduated, I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. So after graduating, I took a job with the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, which is our state's financial aid agency. And I supported students through the financial aid process, helping them with the FAFSA, helping them navigate their college application process. And then kind of through there, I found my passion in working with students. And I really, really liked the power that, these opportunities have for students. And I just think that sometimes students don't know early on, and that kind of hinders them in the process. So they struggle kind of moving through it and moving forward with, obtaining a college degree and maybe even graduating high school. But had they known about these things sooner, they could really go far with these things. So that's what really motivated me to pursue a degree in counseling so that I can, be able to help them more and provide more resources and really be who I needed when I was younger.
Oh my goodness. That is beautiful. I love it.
Super cheesy, I know, but
no, I like that. It's honest and it's really adorable. And I'm sure a lot of people will admire that in general. And appreciate it. The students that you have been helping so far, I'm sure you've inspired many to continue and helped many students. I'm sure. But okay, we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break.
3, 2, 1. This ad is brought to you by self-care. Make sure that you're engaging in a self-care activity every day. And meeting your minimum needs does not count as self-care, okay? So just because you ate and you napped and you slept, that doesn't count as self-care. So make sure that you are taking that extra step to take care of you. Go on a walk, journal, clear your head, take a really long, hot shower, bath, whatever. Just do something for your self-care because you deserve it.
4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Align with Jen. So we finished off with Lupe talking about her transition from work to school, or deciding how she basically got into counseling, the program. So can you tell us more about the current counseling program that you're in at NIU?
Yes.
That you're now apparently like a huge NIU fan. Although we went to Bradley.
Yeah, I always say that I'm very loyal.
Yes.
But slowly but surely, I feel like NIU has changed me a little bit. NIU has my heart for sure.
Wow.
I've always, honestly though, like I've always appreciated like the resources and all of the opportunities that NIU has. But I think more recently, even more, especially being in the counseling program at NIU. So it's a very social justice oriented program, and you know me, I'm super passionate about social justice, and that's something that I really carry in my heart. And so that's something that really kind of sold the program in a sense to me, and it really helped motivate me to pursue that. So everything that we do in our program is, evidence-based research.
Nice.
I
love that.
I know you do. So I just took a research class over the summer. Girl, it was the hardest thing ever.
Really?
Yeah. It was very intense, but I learned a lot. So I learned so much, like, even like towards the end, like reflecting, I'm like, oh my God, this class was so hard. Like, I'm never going to do research. Like, why am I studying this?
Yes.
Why am I taking this class? But in the end, like, the facilitators and like the professor tied it very well together. And they're like, even like seeing a book on the shelf that you see that you're like super intrigued about, like, you never know who wrote that book. Although the title looks great and maybe they're talking about something that you're super passionate about too, but what if the author and like whoever wrote it like knows nothing about that, has like
no
zero
background.
experience. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, like that makes so much sense. So like to me, I'm very critical now of like everything that I do and everything that I like pick up. I really think about that and like who is behind all this, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's the thing, like anyone can pick up and write anything. And it's interesting because even if they're in a certain profession, even within that profession, there are different points of views, and so you kind of have to just read it and consider it and look further into it to decide whether that's valid or reliable, I guess. But I think that's why research is interesting to me, but at the same time it was something I was never like I was the same. I was like, why are we taking all these research classes if I don't want to go into research? But there's still like many professionals like counselors, psychologists who do get into research, but that's their background, like career, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, super critical of everything now. But that class was very challenging, and I'm very happy that it was challenging though, because I feel like I grew so much. And although it was a stressful part of my summer, it was great. Honestly, like I hated it in the beginning, but
was that the class you were stressing about?
I was stressing, girl. I was really, really stressed, but it's okay. We made it. I got an A. And although like
even though you were stressing,
I was stressing. Even though I was like, this is the one class I'm gonna get a C in, and I'm okay with that. Like I was cool with it. I was already like, it's okay.
Hey, as long as you pass.
Yes, but I got an A, so
that's awesome.
Gucci. Yep.
What other classes or what was a class that you, I guess, learned from the most aside from the research class, and that you till this day find the most beneficial?
That's tough. It was really my research class, but I think also my multicultural counseling class was very eye-opening. That class really caused me to really think about a lot of like my past experiences, and it motivated me even more to go into the counseling field, just because like I discovered a lot within myself and a lot within the counseling field that just needs a lot of work, to be honest. And yeah, that class, honestly, it caused me to work with one of my professors to start a space on campus, for technically it was all virtual because of the pandemic. But that space was pretty much for any, Latinx, Latino, Latina individual to come to the space and unpack anything that they want to unpack, going to a predominantly white institution, experiencing everything that we experience from the workplace to class, at the undergraduate level, at the graduate level. Even our doctoral students were invited. So this space really created an opportunity for all of us to kind of come together and really talk about some of the things that we face. And it was nice.
I was gonna say, how was it?
It was really nice.
Were there many students? Did you see benefits from it? Were you leading it, or who was?
Technically, kind of, yeah. So it was me and my professor, and then 2 doc students, actually. So
okay.
We kind of just came to this space and we're open it up. We didn't really want it to be structured, just to kind of
winging it.
Yeah, winging it. That's my favorite thing. But no, I just think that sometimes structure kind of limits us. And so in the beginning, I was like, maybe we shouldn't structure it. And then after we see what the need is, we can start to structure it. So for example, one of the things that my professor taught me was internalized evaluation. So we hear this term, imposter syndrome. I have imposter syndrome. And pretty much what imposter syndrome is, to me, what I define it as, is when you're in a space that you feel like you don't belong there, / you're not deserving of that opportunity. So okay. It's a lot, and anyone can experience imposter syndrome, even me in my classes, sometimes I'm like, dang, how did I get into this program? They must have accidentally read someone else's essays to get into this program.
They didn't read mine.
It wasn't mine because my paper sucks. No, I'm just kidding. No. But sometimes in certain spaces, I'm super quiet, and that's not me. I'm not a super shy person, but sometimes
you are shy. You're shy depending on the environment.
Yes. Yeah. And so exactly. So depending on the environment, and one of the things that causes me to be a little bit more shy and closed off is, I think, feeling like I'm not deserving to be there.
You didn't earn the spot.
Yes, I didn't earn it. And so an internalized evaluation has a little bit more to it, because it's pretty much for a person of color who society has been saying these things that so-and-so person doesn't belong in these spaces. You don't see these type of people in these places or in these positions
or achieve certain things in life.
Right.
Or reach certain career level, professions or
So internalized evaluation is a more exacerbated form of imposter syndrome, where it's not only you're telling yourself and it's kind of coming from your mind, but it's also society and the norms in society. So that's one of the things that I needed to unpack with one of my professors, because I did mention it in one of my reflections. I mentioned imposter syndrome. And My professor is so awesome. She like, in all of our reflections, like she would comment along and she'd be like, I encourage you to explore internalized evaluation because it's like, as a person of color, like you might be experiencing that, which is a little bit more elevated form of imposter syndrome. And it's a little bit different. She's like, meet me at my office hours and we'll talk about it. I'll help you process. And yeah, so that's like an example of something that I wanted to bring to this space is like, sometimes we might feel like this and there's a word for it. And there's an actual like, thing, you know, that
like like it's something that isn't just in your mind or that you feel like you're experiencing or like the only one experiencing.
Yes.
Like there's many people of color, or I guess who do, even if it's
marginalized.
It's like, it's like even if they're not.
Yeah.
But there's many people who do experience.
Yeah. Even like as a woman in like a male dominated field, you know, or even, so it's like, it's not just people of color. It's like the marginalized people or like underserved or underrepresented, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I like that. That's intense. I didn't know that was a thing. Like,
yeah.
And it's very interesting. And I think, okay. And I think it's important to realize that's even a thing, like you mentioned. It's very simple, but I think it's also so complex that you can dive into it and it can be this huge like black hole kind of.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm just assuming because honestly, it's very general and obviously people go through different experiences and can fit in that umbrella.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What were you going to say? I like cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. I was just going to say that I can talk about these types of things like for hours, like, and I can like read so much on the internet, like for hours. Like sometimes I'm just randomly like, I wonder what the research is on this, you know?
Yeah.
And like, this is one of the topics that I've been super passionate about.
Right.
I think especially in the last year.
I was going to say, I think it's awesome that you are passionate about this since it's something that you're obviously pursuing in life. So I think that is great. We're gonna go ahead and take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Awesome. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This ad is brought to you by La Familia Flores. Saludos. Hello everyone. I just want to say thank you for always supporting me, always having my back. Shout out to my 4 siblings, Mayra, David, Randy, and Laura. And kind of Susie too. That's my dog. Well, that's my dad's dog, but she's kind of my sibling too. And shout out to my dad.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Align with Jen. So we left off with Lupe.
Lupe.
Oh my goodness.
It's been a minute.
It's so wide. Lupe. I thought about Fruit Loops. Lupe. Who called you Lupe? Someone had called you.
A lot of people on accident
call
me Lupe. And have you heard of the Lupe vodka?
No.
Is it Lupe or is it Fruit Loop vodka?
I have no.
I don't know, but some high school friends like introduced me to like Fruit Loop vodka because of my name. Yeah. But I always think
you've gotten called Lupe too. Like
I've been everything.
Because I find it so funny because I personally have never called you Lupe or. Like the most I've said is
loops.
Like, loops.
Which honestly I told you don't call me that. And then now everyone calls me loops. And you know what the funniest thing is that they spell it Lupes.
Lupes?
Yeah, like lupus. Instead of like Loops.
Oh, yeah, because in my phone I have you as loops.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize.
No, it's fine. It's fine at this point, you know? People just know me as Loops. But
it's stuck.
But they spell it Lupes.
Who? Everyone?
A lot of people do. Yeah.
Wow. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
I think it's cool. I'm like, oh, my friend Loops. And everyone's like, now they know Loops when they meet you. That's totally off topic. Okay, that's okay.
Back on the train.
We're going back on track. Yeah.
Back the train.
We're
back on the tracks.
Okay.
We're still on the train. Put that thing on the track. Okay.
All right. So clearly we both had a little too much wine. That's okay. We can have fun with it. It doesn't bother me. Okay. But anyway, so I was trying to say we left off with Look Away. We left off with Lupe. Talking about, what was that word again?
Internalize the evaluation.
Okay. Yes, that. Exactly what she said. So I'm wondering, I know you said you had to, like, I guess, explore. Can you, since you've been exploring and know more about it, and you're, like, more aware, at least, of the things that fall into that, can you share, or are you willing to share a experience or an example of that that you personally went through, or that you personally experienced, I guess? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So I think one of the things with me, you know, we talked about how, like, I do get shy in certain situations, and I tend to, like, kind of keep to myself. And I can be, like, super passionate about, like, whatever's going on, but, like, I won't say anything because I just get really, really nervous. And I think part of it is definitely that internalized evaluation, you know? And so, like, one of the things that I learned is that as a counselor, like, we're advocates for our students, for our schools, for our field. And you have to speak up. Like, you have to speak up. It doesn't matter how nervous you are. Doesn't matter if your voice shakes.
Yeah.
You have to speak up. And, so that's one of the things that I've, like, really been exploring. And, like, when I see anything that I don't think is fair, like, I'll speak up. So for example, recently I took one of my friends to the doctor, and mind you, this person doesn't speak English. They only speak Spanish. And they had I think back pain, and I know you're gonna be like, why didn't you bring them to me? But so they
why do you have to mimic that?
So I had to take them to get an MRI. So I was their ride essentially, and this person was like, do you mind coming in with me? Just because I don't know if they're gonna speak Spanish and blah blah blah. And so I go in with them, and they had told me about a prior experience they had at that place getting an MRI, and how they were, like, super mean and super rude. And I was like, yeah, I'll go in with you. And I went in, and they were the person that was sitting at the desk, like the, what are they called? Like the secretaries, like,
Oh, the receptionist?
the receptionist, that person. So that I remember they had their glasses on, and they like did one of these, like, they like look up, like
an ugly stare.
Yeah, they look up
like
at us. Yeah. And then I was like, hello, like, good morning.
All bubbly.
Yeah, all bubbly, because I'm like, you're going into these spaces, like, the person's already nervous, like, they don't speak the language, they have a medical, like, thing going on, like, you know, you're already kind of nervous about, like, what's gonna happen and stuff. And so they were, like, super rude, and it turns out, like, the person that I took had the wrong time for their appointment. Like, they were supposed to go the day before, something like that happened. And the receptionist was, like, super kind of, like, they were, like, really rude about it. And so we're leaving the doctor's office. Well, we're leaving that office, and I'm like, they had seen that I took a picture of, like, the QR code for, like, the reviews, like, the Google reviews.
Yeah. Oh.
And they kind of switched. They were like, Yeah, they were like a little bit
I
more
don't like
friendly.
that. Yeah.
They were like, okay, like, yeah, you missed it, but like, we'll reschedule you and what day works. And so then they start doing it. And then, the friend that I was with, they were speaking Spanish to the receptionist.
Yeah.
And I was like translating everything in English.
Yeah.
And then as we're walking out, I get this urge, like something's telling me, like, go back and say something. My heart was pounding.
You were probably because you were really nervous.
I was so nervous, and I turned around and I was like, hold on. I told my friend, hold on, you can go to the car if you want, but I'll be right back. And so I go back and I say something. I'm like, listen, like, you can't be rude to people like that. Like, one thing is, they're already coming in for like a medical issue that they're having. So this is already a lot. Two, they don't speak the language. Like, you can't be rude to them. You need to be friendly or
patient.
Yeah, exactly. Or patient. Yeah. And I'm like, these processes are already intimidating as it is. Mm-hmm. So if you were just a little bit more friendly or a little bit less rude, like, that would be great. And the lady looks at me, and I'm over here shaking, and she looks at me and she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, you didn't even say hello. You didn't even greet us. Something as simple as hello, good morning, like, would be great.
It's like, it's a simple acknowledgement.
Exactly.
Like, she didn't even have to say good morning or be friendly. She could have just said, hi, I'll be right with there.
You, yeah. Or what can I help you all with today?
Or like, if she was busy, give me a moment or something.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, you know what you did. Like, that you could have done a little bit better. I was like, it's taking me a lot of courage for me to come to you and say this as feedback to you. So I would just appreciate it if you kind of reflect on it. And I left, and I was like shaking. I was about to cry because I was so nervous.
But at the same time, I think it's not just that. I don't know. Like, for me, I would be so frustrated.
Yeah.
And for me, like, at least I know myself, when I get really worked up and frustrated, I start to cry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not even like sad or anything. It's just like, from all that like tension.
Yes, exactly.
You just like, it just gets to you.
Yes, it does. So that was a situation for me where I felt like, we see a lot of like discrimination, especially in like different spaces that are supposed to be inclusive, the schools, medical places, like doctor's offices, and like we see a lot of discrimination. So like for me, that moment was like one of those moments that I'm like, I need to speak up. I need to speak up, even if my voice is going to shake, even if I'm going to be upset after, like, I need to say
however
something.
It comes out, you just have
to... So, para la próxima, like, when she went back, I was like, you better tell me how she treats you. And then she...
Keep me posted.
Yes, and she was like, and then the next time she was like, no, sí, le sirvió la recalentada que le diste. I was like, oh, shit, okay. Yeah, so she was like, she was super friendly, and she was like, Lupe, she speaks Spanish. She's spoken Spanish to them before, to my friend.
You're kidding.
Yeah. And I was like, I thought she was just like pretending, like, I thought she didn't speak Spanish. So like, rude. Yeah. And then she was like, yeah, that's why I was speaking to her in Spanish. And I was like, oh my God, like, oh no, but whatever.
I am glad you said something, and you got the courage to like stand up for that person, because it's true. Like, there's a lot of times when you just want to simply like avoid and just be like, okay, they're having, like, find an excuse for that person, whoever that person is. Like, you just like, oh, maybe they're just having a bad day, or maybe whatever, and you just want to avoid the situation as opposed to like going up to them. But I think it's interesting. It's funny that by you taking that like about to take the QR, like the picture of the QR code,
that they flipped.
They switched, and to me that's really messed up in general, because like you shouldn't act friendly only because someone's gonna leave a review on you. Like, you should be the same person, like, regardless,
no matter what, right?
Yeah, and especially in that setting, and this is why it's like, it's not only upsetting, it's frustrating, because like you said, it's supposed to be a safe environment for people. But if you have someone like that working in the front, they're already like not trusting of the place or
the system.
The system.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the system too, but
yeah.
Yeah. Even hearing it just like frustrates me too, because it shouldn't be like that.
Yep.
And the fact that she knew Spanish, that just adds to it.
Yes,
like,
it's a whole nother layer. I was like, are you serious?
like, how are you gonna have someone go through that? Like, like if you talk to that person in Spanish and clearly she knew that you spoke, it's like,
yeah,
and you're over here trying to translate everything.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's hard. At least for me, it's hard to like do it on the spot, like switch.
Yeah.
From English to Spanish, or just hear someone. I was like, oh, she's saying exactly this, because it doesn't come out exactly how that person is expressing it. But that's a great example, and I feel like I need a break after. I need to cool down just from hearing this. So we're gonna go on a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
All right. Sounds good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This ad is brought to you by Winging It. If you don't know what to do, just wing it.
Start here. And here. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Align with Jen. So things got a little bit heated. At least I felt a little hot from that conversation. Just from hearing the story, it's frustrating. So I personally need to take a moment. I was like, let me take a quick break. That was intense. But it is a good example of what happens like daily, I'm sure. Hourly. By the minute. I'm just being like, but yeah, no, honestly, yeah. I think it's something many people do experience and don't share. And like I said, I feel like most people just ignore the situation, just because they don't want to make things worse. But it was great that you did speak up and stood up for that person. I find that amazing. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
For that moment. So I want to know if you've personally experienced a situation, I wouldn't say similar, but I guess somewhere along the lines that you've now reflected and realized you've been in that situation, or you've stayed quiet.
I've had like others stay quiet.
Or had others stay quiet. Yeah, that's true, because I'm sure.
Yeah, I think when you're the person that's kind of like going through it, sometimes you may not necessarily realize it, but sometimes you do, and you still don't say anything. So I know for me, that was a lot of my high school experience. So, in high school, I experienced kids like making fun of me, they weren't necessarily the nicest. So for me, like moving forward in life, and even in college a little bit, like experiencing certain situations where, I was called out for like my race or for being Latina. I was asked for my green card at a frat party, and being made fun of for my weight. So and it was always by, I'm going to just say it. It was always by white men and white teenagers, guys, males. And so for me, moving forward, like to protect myself, I definitely would, like not talk to, on purpose, I would not talk to like white men or like white, people, I guess you could say. Oops, my bad. And so it's something that I've honestly been reflecting a lot lately, because in one of my classes, my group counseling class, there's this kid in there. He's super dope, super cool. Had I not been in this class with him, though, I probably would not have gotten to know him. And like,
Yeah.
this is a conversation that I've had with him because these spaces are safe for me. And he was super receptive and super open, and he gave me like a lot of feedback too throughout the course. And I did tell him, you know, like, you remind me a lot of the kids that I went to high school with or that I went to college with. And for me, it was really hard to trust him and open up in those spaces with him, just because in the past, you know, these types, I guess, quote unquote, types of people, you can say, have failed me. And it's something that I've been reflecting a lot, because I'm like, at the end of the course, I'm like, you're super dope, like, you're super cool. And had we not been in this class, I probably would have never gotten an opportunity to get to know you. So moving forward, I'm like, I need to stop having that mentality of like, I need to protect myself all the time and close myself off to certain people or certain situations because of past experiences. But I definitely think that today I'm a lot more confident in who I am and what I bring to the table, that, you know, if those same experiences that happened in the past were to happen today, I feel like I would not react the same way. You know, I would definitely speak up, and I would definitely put someone in their place for ever, you know, demanding for something like my green card to go into a frickin' frat party.
Yeah.
I think that we all need to kind of take a step back and reflect on, you know, experiences that we've kind of shut down in, or experiences that we kind of close ourselves off to because of, you know, maybe some past trauma. And because you never know what can happen, you know, you never know like what relationships you can build. You know, now I have a friend in a sports psych program, and like, I have someone to refer to if I ever have any questions about that field. So yeah, that's just something that I really grew from, and I have been reflecting a lot on, and I'm super excited to, you know, keep taking advantage of different opportunities that maybe in the past I've been a little bit more fearful of.
Right. And I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome that you've, one, have been reflecting on it. Two, you've realized like certain things or like certain situations, and that not every person's like the same in that sense. But it is unfortunate that it led to that, like, for you to be guarded and defensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure many people have similar experiences or have gone through certain situations where it has led them to that point. And where their mind is stuck there, and they probably, and it's sad, but some people probably won't even realize that until like later on down the line, or at all.
Right.
Like they're this is not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm probably laughing because it's so uncomfortable, but
laughing is a defense mechanism.
Yes.
It's totally cool.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I know.
It's
Yeah,
normal.
I do it a lot. I've been aware of it. And plus I like to laugh, but that's besides the point. No, someone's like, I think it's cool when someone does realize, like, even like their parents are. Don't remember who I was having a conversation with exactly, because I talk a lot and I see a lot of people throughout the day, so it's hard to like remember who I like talk to about this. But they were just sharing that they realized that their own parent was quote unquote racist. And now I remember who it was, but she was basically saying that she grew up thinking that her parents were the most open people and welcoming and, you know, and whatnot. And until she got older and realized that they weren't. And that is just like, I mean, it's cool in the sense and great in the sense that she ended up recognizing it, but at the same time it's still like surprising how some, like it's how you're raised, you think a certain way, because she thought, and she was kind of led in that way, her she's been a very like open person and welcoming, and she's like, I never thought anything about anyone. And so I thought my parents were the same way until I learned that they would just put up this like front, and around me they would act a certain way, but then I guess like when she got older they were just a little bit more like honest and open around her. So she realized that she wasn't, or they weren't, sorry. And that she was. She was a lot more than what she thought they were. Which is just being open to whoever and anyone and everyone, I guess.
Right.
So I think like even, and she comes from, I don't want to mess up her background, but she's not from a Latin or people of color, background group. So that's why I'm like, like everyone, I think it, like however their race, and regardless of what ethnicity background, they still experience something similar.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, I think it's great that you're reflecting on it, and now you're like have that friendship too. That you probably, like you said, you probably never thought you would have. To begin with. Because I know, like like at Bradley, you always be like looking forward, ignoring all the white males, and
all the bros,
and I would just be like, what, well, obviously I didn't fully understand since I didn't go through that,
right,
through your experience, but I think it's great that you're here now, like you're aware of it. And you're like moving forward, you're more confident.
I dare one of them to try me today, because I will put them in their place.
Like if they say anything, whatever, like not whatever, but it shouldn't affect you, like, because it doesn't reflect who you are, it reflects who they are.
And what's interesting is that for this one specific situation, one of my friends actually kind of like tried to intervene and try to like stand up for me, like because that was his fraternity brother who was like making comments and stuff, and he tried to stand up for me, and so eventually I guess he got to him. So this kid like ended up texting me, apologizing, sent me this whole huge paragraph like about like how he was sorry that he made those comments and that his actions and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's right. Apologize.
You better apologize.
But, I don't recommend, to go through these experiences, but I do definitely recommend to reflect and to, grow from them. And as traumatic as they are and they can be, I think that in everything, as long as we find some type of lesson or
a great learning experience
or something, that we can take from it, because that's life, and
you never know what you're gonna face or what someone's gonna tell you, or and like someone can be in a very like bad mood and say like the nastiest thing to you. But it's like at the same time, you have to like, I think in those moments you have to like take a step back and think like, okay, well, I did nothing, but like you were just like, if you were just standing there, for example, you were just being yourself. Like that, like I said, that's just a perfect, like if someone just goes up to you and says something, like that's just a reflection on them, not you.
And I also do think too is like, I'm not a saint either. Yo no soy santa. Like, I know that I've done some messed up things. I've said some very messed up things. So, if people are willing to give me second chances, and I should be open to giving others, another opportunity. So that's why with my first example, with this lady, there's a receptionist. I'm like, I'm not gonna write a Google review. I'm gonna wait. The next time. That's what I told my friend. I'm like, let me know.
That second chance.
Let me know. ¿Cómo te fue? And she was like, no, she was good. She was super friendly. Like, yeah. I was like, okay, that's what I thought.
That's good. And she probably did go home and think on that.
Yeah, reflect. Yeah.
Because, and you don't expect people to go up to you. And you do. Like, just because, and that's the thing, because they're behind that desk. Yeah. For one. And they're behind that desk. So it's like they feel somewhat of I think it's just like somewhat of a protection in their, in people's mind who work behind a desk. Yeah. In that huge building, so it's just like, I think it's very common for, like I said before, it's just like it's very common for people to ignore the situation. And so she probably did not expect anyone
to challenge her
that day. Yeah. But I think it's great because people should be confronted and they should face whatever it is if they're doing something wrong.
Yeah. And I mean, even like for me in my like, we had to come up with like counseling statements like in one of my classes, and I said, if I'm saying something wrong or like you don't think that I'm like going about things the right way, let me know, because I want that like open and honest, communication. So yeah, if I were in her shoes, I would want someone to tell me like, yo, like we don't like the treatment we're getting here, like
that was not great, or that was rude, or improve on this.
Yes. And I think I'm the type of person that's always like looking for feedback too. Like, tell me I'm doing great. Like, that's awesome. But like, I feel like I learn and I grow more from, if you tell me like, hey, you can really work on this. You can really work. And that's something that I know that we've talked about. Yeah, we have. Like, I know that I need to work on my communication. And so like, that's what I really grow from.
Yes. And I think a lot of people do learn, like can learn and grow from their mistakes, experiences, etc. Like you have to go through certain things to learn from it. It's like you can't be comfortable. You have, in order to grow, you have to like face certain things, challenges and whatever, you know. That's going to be hard, and it's obviously going to push you in different ways, but I think it's great cuz you learn more about yourself, and you'll be able to be a better person, and not only be a better person, but be that person for someone, which you were at the time, which I think was awesome. Yes. So, moral of the story, just be a very kind person.
In conclusion, all that kind. To say that you should be kind.
Be kind.
Be kind, and be kind to others, and when you see someone being unkind, you put them in their place.
Right. And if they're having a bad day, honestly, because so they can be having like the worst day, and to me, I'll be like, okay, that is okay. That is great. Like it's interesting because I honestly do not feel uncomfortable if someone is like latching out, like letting everything out at me. But I just stay quiet and let them
take it.
Like, and let them have their moment. And once, or at least now, I don't know about before, but at least
past Jen.
Yes. But like I think now with like experience of the short, I would say like short experience that I've had with patients, at least personally, it's interesting because I just like they can be crying, they can be mad and letting everything out, and I would just I stay quiet for during that time, and I'll let them have their moment because I know it's not me. Yeah, it's just like letting them get something out.
Which is interesting that you as a doctor would experience that.
No, you
do experience it. Oh no.
And it's funny because it's cool. I think counseling and like trying to bring it back to you and
Yeah.
like what you do, what you're focusing on. I think counseling is great, and I think it's a cool. I took some classes.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they had us take even at Bradley.
Like psychology.
Yeah, we took psychology classes, but at Bradley, we took this counseling class that we had to like at the end if we had to sit down with someone and have a conversation, and obviously the whole goal was to like counsel
Okay.
the person, and you didn't know what they were going to say, but it's
Yeah.
like learning the whole course was basically learning how to say things and what to say at certain
Yeah.
times, depending on what obviously it depends on what the person says.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that helped because it was very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like years ago.
Yeah.
And so now, like, I think that class actually did help me,
Mm-hmm.
because at first it didn't, I was like, why do I need a counseling class? And I was just, you know how you're like,